What business lessons can you learn via health lessons? Stay tuned to find out.
Welcome. Okay, here's the question.
Serious?
How are we dark horses? You know, the ones everyone is betting against, the ones they don't expect to win, place, or even show on the track, and they'll even laugh on us when we talk about trying. How do we show the world our greatness and triumph?
Come on.
Well, that's the question, and this podcast will give you the answers.
Let's go.
This is The Dark Horse Entrepreneur. My name is Tracy Brinkman.
And push it up.
What is up? What is up? What is up, my dark horse friends and family? Welcome back to your weekly dose of healthy learning. I'm your dark horse host, Tracy Brinkman, and you? Well, that, my friend, is infinitely more important. You are a driven entrepreneur or business owner, or perhaps you're just one in the making. Either way, you're here because you're ready to start, restart, kickstart, and just start leveling up with great marketing, personal, or business tips and results in order to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And that, my friend, is why I'm here hitting you with yet another big interview episode today. Today, KUTI Mack shares about why only one path, about staying on versus off program, asks what is your goal, what is your motivation, and so much more. This is a really good one. Plus, I want to give you a little sneak peek into our next interview episode's guest, who is a USMC veteran, a retired police officer, and an author. So, as per usual, the Dark Horse Corrals are chock full of personal, business, and marketing GOLD spilling from every corner of the Dark Horse Entrepreneur HQ. So let's get to the starting gates and go. All right, my Dark Horse friends and family, as you just heard, today's guest is KUTI Mack. Now, reinvention is the root of KUTI Mack's Be Your Best Daily philosophy, and it's also the root word of his personal story. I mean, think about it. After 15 years of building a successful career in the music industry, he desired to build a parallel career that continued and aligned with his life's personal mission, which is helping others. Down in the DC area, KUTI quickly rose to the top of the music, fitness, and motivational speaking industries. His natural ease on both television and the airwaves and in front of large audiences made him a regularly demanded expert on national and on the international level. He's also the creator of the 6-week Super You program, which you hear him chat about in today's episode. He has clients and audiences have affectionately dubbed KUTI the fitness philosopher and the rock star professor for his unique ability to share straightforward, experience-based expertise paired with inspirational philosophies that connect with people on that also important personal level. All right, so KUTI Mack, welcome to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur, brother. How you doing tonight?
Man, I'm great, Tracy. It's great to be on here with you. It's an honor to be part of the platform, honestly.
You know, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out and spending some time with us. So, like I was just telling you moments ago, the first thing I like folks to do is to come on and tell their story, because I really think people can learn from other folks' stories. Whether this story is all about pain, all about happiness, all about drugs, all about, whatever it is, there's lessons that we can all learn from, which is why we're here to talk, right? So if you could just tell me what you went through that brought you to where you are today, and maybe we can learn about why you love doing what you do so much.
And so, the long, quick answer is, I've had a love for music since I was a kid. You see all the accoutrements of, that kind of habit behind me. And this is just a smidge.
Yeah. And I have questions about that. I'm going to tell you, but
feel free to ask them
let's
later.
Go.
Right? So
let's go.
This is like this whole thing, as far as me as a professional, my lifelong love for music informed my professional career immediately getting out of college. And so I get into the music business, and I go through a bunch of stuff in the music business that we can talk about if you need to, but basically almost every gig you could have in the music business, from being an artist, from being a songwriter, producer, manager, record label executive, radio host, you name it, like pretty VJ, you name it. It's like I've touched it at least for 6 weeks, right?
Nice.
And it's still my passion. It's still what I love. It's inseparable from me and who I am. Now, that said, while I was in the music business, my father had a health incident that almost took him out. And I'm forgetting something that predates even me being in the music business. Although before I was in the music business, I was just a kid that loved music. And I also loved academics, and I also loved sports. So from about age 8 on till now, I've always done something with intention that was physically active, physically challenging, that kept me fit. Back then,
for those of you that can't see KUTI, right? He's a fit dude, right? Now, for those of you that are going to catch this on YouTube, you're going to know what he's talking about. He clearly still keeps up with this. So I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had to share.
Oh, no, it's your show, man. So basically what happens is, but early on, I wasn't like committed to being fit. I just like to be active.
Right.
And I like playing sports. I love the camaraderie and eventually I learned to win. So I like winning, and I loved everything that came with that. And it wasn't honestly till midway through college, maybe even shortly thereafter, where I started realizing when I was no longer playing for somebody's organized team, where there wasn't a season that provided that regimen for me, that provided, okay, you're practicing at this time and you're playing at that time, where I started realizing, oh man, to feel like myself, I've got to actually purposely go to the gym now for the first time, and not even have a purpose like I want to be able to run faster, but just I want to maintain where I am. And plus, every time fall would hit coming out of the summertime, even to this very day, just the smell of autumn air, it always makes me feel like, oh, you've got to reboot, you've got to recalibrate, you've got to do this, because for so long, literally almost 12, 13, 14 straight years of my life, that was the whole thing. Summer was the only time off that I had. I still have this kind of Pavlovian response to the air getting a little crisp. And it's like, okay, what am I going to lift or run or do now? So that was always a habit. Eating healthier than most. I won't say healthy, because now I know what truly eating healthy is. Eating healthier than most people around me was also something that, just as a kid, I never took for granted that I could just be athletic. I always thought that I had to train and work at it. And to some degree I did. There's some natural gifts I had: speed, durability, to some degree strength. But to really compete with some of the people that seemed that they just came out the womb great athletes, I was like, I've got to cut all the margins a little closer. And one thing I remember as a kid, now I'm thinking about it, is I remember at some point Coca-Cola and then other soda companies followed, where they came with decaffeinated Coke. And I remember I didn't even think anything about Coke having caffeine in it. It just, it was a drink that you drank. It's a soda. You went to the fast food spot, you got a soda. And also there was this decaffeinated Coke. It was in a gold can. I'll never forget it. And what my mind as a kid was processing was, well, if they would sell it to me without caffeine, what's wrong with caffeine? Like, why would they do that? Why would they give me an option to not have caffeine? And to me at the time, it tasted the same. So I was like, why would I drink it with caffeine? So from that point forward, anything with caffeine in it, I would just throw out. Now, I'll remind you, I was a kid. I wasn't buying the groceries. I was just the one come home and see two 2-liter bottles of Coca-Cola, and I just dump it into the sink. And my father was like, what in the world are you doing? And I'm pouring out. I'm like, hey, it's got caffeine in it. And he was like, look, before I knock you out, you need to understand, you can't just pour out the soda I just spent money on. But eventually what happened was they stopped buying sodas with caffeine. So I had that influence. Also, it was Sprite and Sunkist as opposed to Coca-Cola. I didn't drink coffee because of the caffeine. So little things like that I would do all along the way, where I was able to say, okay, if something about this seems nefarious to me, then I'm not going to do it. And again, it didn't mean I ate perfectly, but those things were like, as a kid, like my dad laughs now when he sees me giving people nutritional advice. He was like, yeah, because you were pouring out our sodas.
That's right.
It absolutely makes sense. So fast forward to me becoming a record label executive and industry, professional artist and then manager. And then I get to this point where the same dad, he has a health incident that almost takes him out. High blood pressure incident, and it almost kills him. Now I'll tell you about my father. My father's kind of guy that ran every single day. I'm talking like rain, snow, sleet, heat. He ran every day, miles upon miles. I run, if I'm lucky, if I'm fortunate, I will get 3 runs in a week, maybe 4 on an inspired week, just being forthright. And I'm not doing any more than a 5K, 3 miles, and
I'm done.
We're done.
Yeah.
So he's running more than I was. And back then I wasn't a fitness professional. He's running more than I was. He seems health conscious from what we can see, but I didn't realize at the time he had high blood pressure or I think I knew he had high cholesterol. So he has a blood pressure incident that almost takes him out, and it's a stunning turn of events. Because, you talked about my physique. If you see me next to him in a picture, and I'm not that big a guy, but if you see me next to him in a picture, it's kind of like looking at David Banner and the Incredible Hulk. It's like there's a stark difference in the broadness of our shoulders, but we're the same guy underneath it all, same structure, same genetic code, but I'm just a muscular, taller version of him. And so if you look at him, you wouldn't think this guy's going to have an issue with his health. He runs every day. And he's not fat. And, but that's what happened. And so for me, again, just logic, even as an adult, I'm like, well, if he's active like that, then what is it?
What's going on here?
Yeah, it's gotta be nutrition. So while he's laid up in the hospital, flatlining every 4 days, I'm like, okay, let me get home to his house, dump out anything that looks nefarious, that has sodium, and replenish it with.
We're back to pouring out the sodas again.
Exactly. Right on brand, right? And in the midst of that, I was like, you know what? I think I know from a layman's perspective about nutrition, but now we're talking about life or death. Yeah. So I was like, I need to figure out nutrition for real. So I get certified as a nutritionist.
Nice.
And just to help him out, because at that point in my life, selfishly speaking, there were things that I felt like, okay, I've done a lot, I've accomplished a lot, but there's some things I still need my dad around to witness.
That's okay. That's a good selfish right there. I'm with that.
And the more I think or talk about it, I didn't necessarily put that out there at the time, but I'm saying it now. Like, I was like, man, nah, like it's just too soon. Not that I have control over life or death, but I was like, no. This, if we can control this, we're going to control it. So, but when you find out some great news, when you hear a great song, when you see a great movie, when you read an awesome book, the first inclination by most of us is to go tell somebody else, right?
Yes.
So as I am already in the habit of working out, but now I'm learning these things about nutrition, I kind of low key become a zealot. I'm low key like, did you know you can cut your cholesterol if you do this, if you do that? And I'll remind you that some of my story also is that I'm an immigrant. So father's Nigerian, mother's of Nigerian descent. A lot of her family's in the UK. I was born in the UK. I came here with a British accent, lost it when I was 7.
It's gone, dude. You can't even hear it.
It's gone, man. I learned this as a sidebar. Whatever accent you have when you're 12, that's your accent. That's going to be your accent.
Right on.
Unless you're Madonna or Tina Turner. So basically, as an immigrant, when my family comes here to the States, they're not coming here to just hang out. They're coming here to take full advantage of everything that this country has.
They're here to get shit done, right?
Exactly. So everybody in the family's college educated. Everybody in the family's got a trade that you can actually hang your hat on. They're doctors, they're nurses, they're engineers. You see what I'm saying? They're accountants. So I was pharmacists. So I'm surrounded by people who are just in science and medicine all the time. So growing up in that environment, and then synthesizing what I just kind of knew from moonlighting in my uncle's pharmacy or hanging out with my mom at the hospital, along with what I'm learning from nutrition, I'm starting to realize there's some objectives that are in common. And there's some things that medicine's trying to accomplish. But if you know enough about biology and food can accomplish these things too.
Yes.
And so I'm learning holistic nutrition, pairing it with standard nutrition, standardized, Western medicine and pharmaceutical approaches. And I've always been raised to have a more homeopathic, holistic response, even with all the people in my family who are doctors and pharmacists. They're the last people to tell me, take this pill.
Yeah.
It's like when I was a kid, back to when I was a kid. Oh man, I got a headache, Mom. Okay. Have you had anything to drink today? I don't know. Drink some water.
When was the last time you ate?
Yeah. I come back. I still have a headache, Mom. Okay. Have you had anything to eat? No. Okay. Eat. Still got a headache, Ma. You take a nap. Take a nap. If I still had a headache after like step 4 or 5, then it's like, okay, maybe I'll give you half of this Tylenol.
Right.
But, there was never, I remember going to people's houses and the first response was just, oh, get a Tylenol, get a pill. And I was like, wow. So I've grown up just not even having I don't even take multivitamins. Like that just, it's strange.
You're getting that through the food you intake, right?
Precisely, because a vitamin's a supplement.
Yeah.
Like I said, everybody around me a brainiac. So some of that stuff drips off on little old me, right? The least educated person in the house with a bachelor's from University of Virginia. Go Who's. And so it's like, when you take the word supplement means what? Like, I'll ask you, Tracy, what does supplement mean to you?
It's an add-on to what you're already taking in. That's what comes to mind.
Yeah, it fills in the blanks for the stuff that you're not getting. So in my world, it's like, why don't you just get what you're supposed to get?
Right.
And there are some extreme situations. Some people have certain conditions that don't allow for them to absorb nutrition the same way. Right. Some nutrients are harder to acquire. They're not as bioavailable, even if you eat like vitamin D, for instance. That mainly comes from the sun.
The sun, yeah.
If you're going to eat a bunch of eggs, you can try, but I mean, really, the sun gives you the best dose of vitamin D. But if you and I sit in the sun for an hour, you're going to get a different kind of sun than I am, right?
Yeah, that's true. I am.
So it's not so sometimes I understand it. And then you add to that, people don't want skin cancer. So what do? They put on sunscreen. So they go out in the sun, but they got a ointment on their body that's blocking the sun.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a whole myriad of any other issues. And, it's funny and correct me if I go astray here. First off, you and my wife would get along great. She's a big fan of eating healthier than others. That's a good way to put it, right? I'm not eating perfectly healthy, but I'm eating better than a lot of other people, right? But and we do take, they're actually little multivitamin gummies,
and that's okay. I don't want.
Oh no, and I know you're right, and it is. It's just to do that. It's to fill in those parts that maybe I'm not eating the right thing all the time. So I'm going to add this little puppy in. But where I was going with like, hey, the vitamin D, perfect example. We're here up in Wisconsin. It's flipping cold right now. I'm not hanging out outside to get the sunlight. Now, I am lucky enough to have a beautiful home that has big windows, so I could hang out in front of the window for a while. But I know I'm not getting enough of it, so I'm just going to eat this yummy gummy vitamin and pop it down and chew it up and let it go. But where I was going with is eating the right foods in the first place. But there's still a challenge in that is that I've read, and correct me because you'll know probably more than I will, that there's a lot of farms that are producing even raw vegetables that are not really, that are, I'll use the phrase, stripped of a lot of their original nutritional value. And then they're pumped up with some sort of man-made, I don't know, genome, whatever. And I've even seen some reports that show like yams that have been coated, not paint. I'm going to use the word painted, and it might not be the correct phrase, to get them the right color so that when you see it on display at the store, you look at it and say, that's a good looking yam. That's the one I'm going to pick up. And it's fripping painted. You're like, what?
It's tough, man. It is so tough. The food industry, especially in this country, commerce in the capitalist society, money, cash rules everything. You know? Like one of the groups I work with, the Wu-Tang Clan, they have a song, Cash Rules Everything Around Me.
Oh, brother, I love that group. I'm telling you.
Yes, sir. I work with them, legends, right?
Yes.
So, but it's the truth. And the food industry, the more you dig, you're gonna find things that are just appalling.
Yeah.
Right now, but I'll say this. So to your point, like you said, I talked about it in gradated levels. I didn't say, well, I just eat absolutely healthy and I'm the best. I talk about foods that take you on program and foods that take you off program. Mm-hmm. And whatever foods take you closer towards whatever your health objectives are, I call those on program. And those could change depending on where you are in your fitness, what your goals are. If I get somebody who's morbidly obese and trying to lose weight, sweet potatoes are good for you, but they're not good for that person to lose weight. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're great for somebody who's lost the weight and trying to maintain.
Yeah.
They're good for somebody who's maybe underweight and wants to build up. So every food, depending on the circumstance, there are only a few foods that I think are lowest common denominator foods in terms of their value to most people. Mm-hmm. So, I try hard not to speak in sweeping generalizations, but at the same time, my experience.
But yeah, I mean, you can liken that to, let's say, a lot of the folks that be listening to this are budding entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs. When you first start your business, you're doing A, B, and C. And you're running, your little chicken legs are running like crazy, trying to you're usually the guy wearing all the hats. I'm going to put on the marketing hat. I'm going to put on this hat. I'm going to put on that hat. But as your business grows, our body changes, right? We're using the same analogy. Well, now you're doing different things because your business needs different things and your clientele need different things. And as you continue to grow, right, you're going to do other things. If you kept doing the things you were doing in the very beginning of your business, well, it wouldn't grow the way you wanted it to. So your body is.
Yes, I love like that, the analogy. And in that same analogy, taking it from growing your business or improving your fitness and taking it back to what we're talking about, foods that are nefarious or have been tampered with or whatever the case may be. What I'm saying is, if you jump into just, I'm going to eat vegetables.
Right.
You're already, you're the new entrepreneur in the business with the little chicken legs running.
Yeah. Right.
As you start going, you want to, as a new business owner, you want to hit everybody. You don't have a target market. You have your industry, you have the void that you think you fill, and you just want to hit everybody. That was the toughest question for me to answer early on. People say, well, who is your niche? Who is your target audience? And I'd be like, everybody. Like, I want everybody to be healthy, right?
I hear that all the time.
No. You got to narrow it. And I was like, and I had trouble for the longest time. When you're trying to get healthy, it's like, what am I going to eat? What's the best vegetable? I'd say, eat vegetables. Let's start there. Eat fruit, eat vegetables, drink water. Are they non-GMO? Are they organic? Are they, from the grocery store, from the farm? Man, just eat those things first because they're better than the junk that you were eating before.
Yes.
And then once you get in, you can say, oh, okay, these if I go to this orchard, up the street, I can get better quality apples than I get from the grocery store. If I go to this store, they've got better berries than that store. Mm-hmm. If I go organic with this, it treats me better, but I don't necessarily have to go organic with that.
Yeah.
You can start to pick and choose and narrow your focus, but you got to get in the pool first and start swimming before you can even talk about any of it.
Yeah, get your feet wet, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
You jump into business. It's like, I wanted to treat everybody. And I still do. I mean, I've trained and consulted a zillion different kinds of people. Even as I speak to you now, I have all kinds of people. But what I will say is, for instance, I have a 6-week Super You program, and that program specifically, I've marketed it to everybody. But I'll say the people who have come through like gangbusters and just responded the best and had the most success tend to be professional people who are great at everything they do in life. They're good parents, they're good bosses, they're business owners, they're entrepreneurs, they're successful in their community. But the one thing they cannot master is having fitness as their lifestyle. They can jump in for a week or two on this program or that program and it doesn't stick. They can't they used to be fit, they used to be active, and now they look in the mirror and they see somebody different. And now they're like, I don't see me anymore in my Instagram posts. I don't see me anymore in my Facebook posts. I don't see me anymore in the mirror. And I don't know what to do. Like, I've tried A, B, and C, and it's just not working. Those people, they come to the 6-week Super You and they find success. So I found my niche was those people who are successful at everything in life except for maintaining a fit lifestyle.
Well, let's dig in there for a second, because I'm really interested in that, because I've been that person, right? I've been that person. I'm looking at the Instagrams or the old Facebook posts going, damn, dude, you need to drop a couple of pounds. I was never fat, right? And I was usually a pretty active guy. Obviously, I got into, corporate America, 12 hours sitting at a desk, that's going to chip away. And I was lucky enough, I actually worked for Coca-Cola. Funny you mentioned them. And they had this amazing on-site gym. And while I worked in downtown Atlanta at that office, I was fit because I'd get up there, I'd get in there early in the morning, bang out a workout. They had trainers there, free, paid for by the company, because they knew if you were healthier, they'd get more out of you. You're more productive, right? And then after I left them, there's a shift. Yeah, I saw the shift. And I tried to do things that did, but over time, you get kids, and I'm not making the excuses, but it happened.
Right.
And I remember looking at a picture. My daughter was an avid cheerleader. Not high school. I'm talking about this competitive, throwing them up in the air, level 5 kind of stuff, right? And I was that dad. I was the one you saw running around with the flag and the crazy bejeweled clothes, introducing them on the stage and everything like that. But I remember seeing a picture of myself up there on that stage, and I saw my tummy, and it was just that right angle and the lighting. I'm like, that's not what I want to look like. And I started altering what I ate because I knew I wasn't going to just jump right on and get to the gym. I just knew I wasn't going to do that. But I started just checking myself and what I was eating. It's like, man, look at all this damn sugar. Look at all of this, all the carbohydrate that, and fattening fat this, and just being aware started a healthy path, and which was good. And then I met my now wife, who is just ultra brainiac when it comes to this nutrition stuff. And she's talking macros, this, and food, that. And here's the cool part. She doesn't force it on anyone else, right? I can go and ask that question and say, well, what do you think? Oh, I'm not going to try and repeat it, right? I'm not near as educated as either one of you. But she'll certainly say, here, this, here, that. And we work out a couple of times a week together, and it's awesome. And I'm back to where I'm much comfortable. I'd like to be a couple of pounds lighter, but it's wintertime. I know that as soon as spring hits, I'll be back outside doing stuff and be far more active, and this would disappear and I'll be happy again. But it's crazy. And I'm babbling on, but I want to shut up here because I have an anchor question in this. In those folks that you see that are successful in that 6-week Super You program that you mentioned, that aren't successful without it, what is it? Because you said they're successful at being parents, they're successful at running businesses, they're successful at doing this and doing that. But when it comes to their damn health, they just can't crack the code. Why? What is it?
There's a word or a phrase for this phenomenon, and it's not front runner, but when we win at something, as human beings, we tend to take our foot off the gas and stop doing the very things that helped us win. Matter of fact, in some cases, we will celebrate by doing something that works in total contrast to the very thing we just achieved by winning.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh man, I just lost weight and won a marathon. I'm going to go eat pizza. It's like,
right, and drink beer and
right. Exactly. We're going to celebrate with the beer at the end. And again, I'm not criminalizing any of it. If you're either off program or on program, but what happens is, a lot of times when people have achieved something once before, they, especially those of us with life experience, a couple decades behind us, right? What we do is, I wish I could grow one of those, man. like people think I'm shaving just to look. If I start, it comes out so ratty, and I can't get it. I can't get that, man. So I just cut it off. So what happens is, people tend to think that what I did last time is what I can do this time. And what they always forget, you mentioned this, you saw a picture of yourself, the angle caught you just right, and that shadow above your belt had you like, oh, no. No. People
Right.
forget what that motivating factor was that got them in shape last time. See, when you're young, it just happens. We can say we did all this stuff, but really we're just young. Our metabolism is high. We eat pizzas, we drink beer, and then we just wake up with a six pack. But then when you're an adult, you have that one transformation session where you actually, you saw yourself falling off, you recommitted to the gym, or you recommitted to your eating, and you got a trainer and you knocked it all off. And then you fast forward 10, 15 years later, children later, lifestyles, all that stuff later. And you're looking at yourself and you're like, oh, I can do it again because I did it before, but you're forgetting what your motivating factor is. So a lot of times when I talk to people before they start the 6 week Super U, I have no problem saying it here. I will say, okay, look, what's your goal? And then once they tell me the goal, I'm like, okay, I get the fitness goal. But why? And I'll ask a series of questions that really get into like your personal situation. I take the personal side of personal training very seriously. And to make this a program that fits people in a custom way, that fits you like a custom suit, I need to know what your measurements are first. So I'm like, okay, look, what is it that's going on with you? What's going on in your life? What's the pain point? What is it that had you just like, oh man, I used to be, but no, I'm not. And this makes me feel like because so on and so forth. And once I get to that, and we get to the essence of what's going on, then I can now give you what I call the super trio: super foods, super facts, and super moves. The super foods, nutrition. We've been talking about nutrition this whole time. The foods that I've seen over time, over a decade and a half of me doing this thing where I'm like, okay, sidestep that food, even if it's a fruit or a vegetable. I'll tell you, man, don't worry about those fruits and vegetables for now. Eat these, because these are the things that are going to get you where you got to go. The super facts are the information, the science I told you about, the brainiacs all around me that I ask every single day, the pharmacists and the doctors and the research that I've done on my own and in my certifications, where I say, okay, let me synthesize all this information and distill it to you in very simple, bite-sized, easy to understand equations and sentences and phrases, so you can go, oh, that's why I hit the wall before and can't hit it and can't break through now. And then the super moves, of course, the exercises. And people don't have time when they get older. So like you said, when you were working at Coca-Cola, the gym was right there. You didn't have to go anywhere. Right. The convenience of that is what helped you. But everybody doesn't have a gym. This era, like from 2019 until now, some people haven't even been able to buy equipment. It's like equipment just started popping up on the internet like about a couple months ago. Up until then, you could even get a dumbbell if you wanted from whatever your online retailer of choice was.
Yeah, not a reasonably priced one anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was like, okay, you'll get it to you in 9 months. It's going to cost you $2,000.
Right.
You're like, so I'm over here training people with a bottle of laundry detergent. A book bag full of books. Yep. I can show you with the 6 week Super U how you can get most of these things done with little to no equipment, but still get meaningful exercises in. And I got some workouts that are through the 6 week Super U that are literally soup to nuts, 4 minutes long. And when they're done, you're like, I'm done.
You're now listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
4 minutes. 4 minutes. So it's having the convenience, it's having the information, it's knowing what foods. And so again, we could all take our own garbage out if we wanted to.
Sure.
They could tell us, you could say the landfill is 2 miles that way. You take your garbage, put it in your own car and drive it there.
I can remember doing that.
But it ain't easier when you just have somebody just throw it down a chute or put it on the curb and somebody else comes gets it.
Yep.
They got all the resources and all the infrastructure. So for me, I provide that infrastructure where a lot of people, they're winning at so many different things. They don't have the bandwidth to commit to something that they don't understand why it's not working now for them the way it worked for them in the past.
And I think what's magic inside there, and I want to dig in a couple of different places, but I think one of the things that's magic inside there is anyone who's gone into business or even struggled, right? And I'm even talking about owning their own business. I mean, just maybe they're even working in corporate America. There's a point where you plateau, right? And to get past that plateau, you need some information, some education, and you need to make some moves. I'm going to steal your words here, right? You need some super facts, you need some super moves. And you usually get that through a mentor or a coach. I know I did. I attribute a good spike in my corporate career. I got like 5 promotions in 3 years as a result of making super moves from super facts that I got from some amazing high-rung, high-level people inside the organization I worked for and outside, right? I went paid for it. I said, look, I need you to coach me so that I can reach that next level. And they say, okay, here it is. Here's what you do. Oh, that's great. All right, I got the information. Now, guess what? I had to go do it. And when I did it, I got the results. So that I like how you compact that down into three little phrases. But there's one piece I want to ask about in the facts, and foods could be in here. But when it comes to the facts, someone's out there, they're listening, they're going, yeah, that's all great, KUTI and Tracy, but I go out to the internet and I ask some dietary or some exercise question, and I get these just laundry list of varying answers, because let's be honest, and you know this as well as I do, it's how many billion-dollar industry, and they all want you to hook on to that next new fad. Send me your $97 a month and I will teach you how to do this. And you're like, time out, right? Where someone's listening right now, and I know you're going to have a program, I'm definitely want to send them to you, and we're going to get that information. But if just Joe Schmo or Jane Schmaine is out there typing on the internet, where can they go to get some real facts?
That's a really good question. Oh man, I'm mad at myself right now because I cannot remember the author's name. There's a book called How Not to Die.
Oh, How Not to Die.
Look that book up, you'll find it. It's white with green letter and leaves all over it. And what I appreciated about that book, because most of the time when I do my research, it's an accumulation of my hands-on experience with talking to clients over, like I said, a decade and a half,
right?
Taking them from being type 2 diabetics to non-insulin dependent, taking them, from high blood pressure meds and cholesterol meds to no pharmaceutical interventions at all with the help of the doctor. And I've always taken it from the natural approach, like nature. Like even with medicine, I look and see, okay, what's the objective of this painkiller?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this painkiller is trying to, in addition to kind of numbing your nerves, it's trying to reduce inflammation. Okay, what foods reduce inflammation? And I go from there and push it as far as we can from a nutritional standpoint. So as far as finding resources, you're right. We live in an information age, which is amazing on one hand,
mm-hmm.
but it's scary on the other because we don't have gatekeepers anymore. It's just information out there and it all comes out the same screen. So we give it all the same validation. Whereas like you and I are both seasoned enough in life to remember where you had to have a bibliography. You had to have your sources quoted. You couldn't just have something in an encyclopedia and it just be, that's what it is. You could check sources. You could cross-reference. So that's something where for me, I do pride myself in the fact that I'm always cross-referencing things. And that book I mentioned, How Not to Die, that's one of the first books I've read where this person's objective wasn't trying to sell you anything, just like me. I'm not trying to sell you a supplement or sell you anything. I'm when you go to the stuff I'm going to recommend for you to buy, you go into the store, you go in one direction, the produce section, and that's where everything is. And this guy, he talked to doctors and scientists, and it's research heavy and it's cross-referenced. And so you'll see that everything he's talking to you about, is coming from a scientifically derived mode of research. And it's not as nerdy as it sounds, but it is quite comprehensive. And my mind was blown when I was reading it because I just felt like I was reading a kindred spirit, because here it was somebody not trying to sell you on things that if you actually went just one step further, you go, well, if you eat this way all the time, at some point, you're going to mess your cholesterol up. If you eat this way all the time, at some point, you're going to be deficient in iron. And so, but this guy really looks at things, okay, you got this disease, here's what's going on, here's what fixes it, here's the foods that have these properties, et cetera, et cetera. So I always look for stuff like that. Those books are few and far between, in my humble opinion. And so what I really base my stuff on is indeed like my own doctor. I'll talk to my doctor all the time, like to the point where when I go to my doctor, I have to go get my labs done on my own, because I used to bother him so much about the minutia of my labs. He's like, you know what? Here's a lab order. You get your labs done. You research it. You tell me what you see. You tell me what you see. And then we'll go from there.
Come on, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, like I come in there like, okay, doc, so this is what I see. My iron is here. So but I have a blast with it because, I do trust science. I do trust nature more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And if something flies in the face of nature, I'm quick to at least put it on the back burner and see how far nature can get me before I start worrying about anything else. So if somebody's looking for information, I would say go to like the boring sites. There's
this thing called the library. I'm just saying.
Yes, read books and don't be afraid to cross-reference.
Yeah.
Like you cross-reference, you'll see, okay, this doesn't match with this. Then figure out if there's an agenda, if there's something that they're selling, if there's something, like I had a situation with respect to physicians. I had a situation where my father was being prescribed a certain drug. Mm-hmm. Now my father's he's got everybody, neurologist, cardiologist, he's got the nephrologist, kidney doctor, he's got his primary care, he's got his dentist, and all these people are looking at him, but all of them are looking for one thing that they're trying to fix in their own right. And they're not trying to step into the next lane because then it gets complicated and maybe even expensive, or they might lose, the client, so to speak.
Yeah.
So they're talking about this medicine. And when I started researching the medicine, I realized, okay, number one, this medicine is new. Number two, this medicine has like 2 or 3 applications. So it kind of can be used for kidneys. It can be used for sugar. It can be used for the heart. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, And then I ask another doctor, hey, you've looked at the guy, you looked at the stats. What do you think? And then he goes, well, I wouldn't think to prescribe this medicine. I can see what the objective is. Maybe I'll talk to them. And I get in on those conversations. Yeah. And when it comes down to it, I go, okay, again, not to be a conspiracy theorist, but if a pharmaceutical rep came in and said, hey, look, we got this new medicine. It's really great for this, that, and the third. It solves a lot of problems. Let your patients know. And matter of fact, here's some samples so that because it's so new, it's going to be pretty expensive. So if they do indeed decide to do it, here's some samples. And that was the kicker to me. Because without saying too much about my past, without saying too much about people that I've known when I was younger and not always such a, smiley, nice guy, right? The whole, I'm going to give you some of this stuff on the cheap for free. And if you like it, come back and you got to pay for it.
Yeah, I ran that game.
Dealing 101,
I
man.
ran that game too, my friend.
That's drug dealing 101, man.
Shooting pool, going, oh yeah, I know where. Yeah, here, just
I know you can get some of this. That's drug dealing 101, man. So it's like, if indeed my dad actually needs it, he'll need it later. If he doesn't need it now, we can figure it out naturally.
Yeah,
that's my whole
100%.
point. So when it comes down to you researching stuff, and another thing, we talk about research. Come on, people. Like, I hear people talk all the time. Well, I did my research on this medicine, or I did my research on this vaccine. You didn't do more research than the people who actually get paid to research. So I talked to the epidemiologist. I talked to the cardiologist, to the primary care physicians. I talk to these people, and I synthesize all the information they give me, and I find what's the lowest common denominator and start there. And so if you really want to do the research, legitimately do the research. Don't just do a Google search and see what, your favorite, musician said on Instagram about fill in the blank and say, okay, now I've done my research. No, you haven't. No, you haven't.
Yeah. And watching a commercial on TV is not doing your research either. I'm just saying, again, I'll come back to the fact that I have this amazing woman in my life that, does the research and she's as nerdy about that kind of health focused research as I am about computers and things like that. She's like my ultra geek, and it's a symbiotic relationship that's just amazing. All right. This is awesome, dude. I'm glad. Not only I'm glad I had you on, but just that we ended up going this route. We could take this conversation in so many directions, especially what's happened over the past couple of years. But we don't want this episode to get pulled off of certain platforms.
Right.
I've had 2 episodes pulled off of YouTube for mentioning the wrong word.
Oh, okay. And so be it.
I don't really care. I'm all about sharing the information, but I think to get right back on track, if you're doing the research about to build on what you were talking about, maybe you or your father or someone you love needs some sort of medication, well, just take a minute and ask the questions of those who give you the right answers, be it your doctor or a second opinion, or like you said, I mean, I had a mom who had a number of health issues in her later years, and she had this plethora. She had like a football team of doctors. You know, one handled her neuropathy, and one handled her diabetes, and one handled her, like you said, her teeth, and you know, then she had a salon. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent on purpose, but to your point, there's all these people, and there's no straight line communication between them all the time to say, hey. Yes. I'm gonna diagnose you this because you have neuropathy. Well, what is that doing to, you know, your diabetes, or what is that doing to, you know, your mindset, or, you know, oh, because she was a manic depressive on top of that. So now if the neuropathy, which is a nerve agent, correct me if I'm wrong, right, goes in and does its thing and it makes her more depressed, well, they're going to up their dosage of you know, medication B, and it's this vicious cycle of things. Whereas if you can ask the right questions to the right people at the right times, like Business 101, right? Maybe you'll get different answers that give you better results. Or like you were saying, I wonder if there's a food out there that might help me with my, I'm going to oversimplify this, depression or nerve issues or diabetes issues, right? I'm not a nutrition. I can't say yes or no, but those are just the questions I think we need to ask more of.
Yeah, so just being a health advocate. When my dad, he got sick a couple years ago, and I mean critically ill, and I was thrust into managing his health again, and he's all right now. So just, you know, the story as well. But in these things, we had these very critical moments, and what I would find is just from shift to shift, if one nurse was with him for like all week, and then she left on Friday to be gone for the weekend, and another nurse came in on the weekend, all the information would just get lost.
Oh, my goodness.
Being there, I was taking just fastidious notes, even on stuff I didn't know. If I just heard them say it, I wrote it down. And if it could have all been Greek to me, but when I see somebody say, well, we're going to up him to cc's, I'm like, no. He was on 10 cc's before. He should be on 10 cc's now. Well, it looks like his pressure went up, but that's because he's got to go to the bathroom, and he's not telling you, like, you know, so maybe have him go to the bathroom first and his blood pressure will drop. You know, those kind of things where I was watching everything. And through that, we were able to coach him back to health. But it was because I was an advocate. I remember when it was all said and done, there were nurses on the floor that said, you should be you should just rent yourself out to be the advocate in the hospital to whomever is in critical care, because so many things get lost in those situations. And it's the same kind of thing with us when we're not in critical care, when we're just out and about. Be an advocate for your health, or be the advocate for the people around you, your loved ones, and ask the questions. Be having a centralized place of all that information and being able to distill it to somebody who actually can break it down for you is probably the most crucial thing. Because when I think about it with my dad, with all those doctors, my primary care physician, whom he didn't have one, and I didn't know this, he was going to his cardiologist, and to him, he was going to the doctor. So his cardiologist was his doctor. And I'm just like, no, he's just your cardiologist, right? So when I introduced my primary care physician, who I trusted, and said, okay, look, we're going to quarterback the situation. So every other doctor, we send all that information back to the primary care, and he can look at it and say, okay, the nephrology is doing this, cardiology is doing this. And what's the other one? Cardiology, nephrology, and I'm forgetting somebody, kidney. There's so many of them. There is just a host of them. Like, so all these people are doing these different things, and then he could say, oh, well, if the neurologist didn't recommend this and the kidney doctor didn't recommend this, then the heart doctor recommending this doesn't really make that much sense. So so we could centralize all that information. So I would say that's, if you're a layperson, have a primary care physician that you actually trust, have a relationship with, or have somebody, even if it's just a layperson who can just take all that information and have it in one spot and look at it all and be able to compare notes, because that's the best way to get the best information. I mean, options will always provide clarity if the right person's in charge.
100%. Okay. So you mentioned the 6-week Super U program. Is that something you want to talk about? Do you want to share more with the
By
folks?
all means, I love the 6-week Super U. It's as far as my fitness legacy. Like you see, I've got this whole thing with the platinum records and stuff behind me. That's my recording industry legacy. But my fitness legacy, man, the 6-week Super U is the most proud result that I have of my whole career in this game. It's taken all of this experience that I've had with thousands of clients at this point, and again, just distilling it down to the lowest common denominators, the most efficient ways for you to eat, for you to exercise, and for you to get the information that helps you make sense of all of this stuff. And it makes it as convenient as it can be. You still have to take a couple steps. You still got to be proactive for sure. But I've trimmed all the fat off so that you can actually, over the course of, I say 6 weeks, but it's actually 12 weeks, because what I had when I first started the program, it was a 6-week program, but people would get through it. And even when they were successful, they weren't ready to jump away from the campfire yet. They may have stumbled somewhere in there and caught their footing.
So holding on to the parachute strings.
Like, literally, I'm not ready to go yet. So I was like, okay, let's make it a 12-week thing so we can just reinforce and really establish and root the lifestyle part in. Because in my mind, when I first started it, I started it just to, I figured it would be an oasis. You come here, you get the information, and you can go about your own way. You graduate and you go. And when I made it a 12-week program, I realized what was happening was, that's when I saw that it's about the lifestyle. Because you can go a bunch of places and find out about, and get some new way of eating. You can pick up workouts, online or Google or whatever, but to be able to synthesize it all in a way that it makes sense to you, that even if you fell off track, you absolutely would know how to get yourself back on track. That's what this thing really specializes in. So if you go to 6weeksuperu.com and get some information there, or better yet, just hit me on social media, hit me up directly. Tell me that you saw me right here on Tracy's show. And what I'll do is I'll give you a free consultation just because you're a friend of Tracy's, and then and I'll even give you a discount on the 6-week Super U. Just remind me that I said so, because I say these things when I get excited, and then my business manager is like, dude, what are you doing?
You're giving away the farm.
So
you have to advocate for yourself, people.
Yeah. So mention this show, mention that I said I give you a free consultation, mention that I said I give you a discount, and I'll remember at that point. But so hit me at KUTI Mack on Instagram, just DM me there. Or if you find me on Facebook, you can go to BYBD Fitness, Be Your Best Daily Fitness, and direct message me there, and I'll make sure I'll make it worth your while. But the 6-week Super U is definitely, like I said, if you're successful at everything except for maintaining a legitimately healthy lifestyle, that's what you want to do. The 6-week Super U is absolutely for you. You'll love it. It's a sense of community. You've got a bunch of like-minded people that are going to get in the mud with you. I'm with you, in contact with you every single day, thanks to technology. And man, it's a blast. Like the success stories, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about them now. It's just like,
that's awesome.
I feel so blessed and honored to be able to positively impact so many people's lives, and I look forward to doing more so.
It's funny. It's and I don't know about your program. I just did a little bit of scratch the surface research, and I was like, okay, cool. This is good stuff. I can remember. I'm going to go back to, we talked about those teen days, and right out of high school, I joined the military. Now, right out of high school, I was into gymnastics, martial arts, and wanted to be a stuntman. So as you can imagine, I was this lean, mean fighting machine, right? I've been doing like martial arts since I was like 9. And so I joined the military right out of the gate. I think I was 17 when I signed the papers and 18 when I went in. And you go through boot camp, and they just break you down and rebuild you up. And after basic training and AIT, my advanced individual training out there in South Carolina, they gave me the option. Hey, do you want to go to your first duty station? Or do you want to take some leave time, 30 days leave time, and then go to your first duty station afterwards? And this was an option for me because I wanted to go to Germany. I elected to go to Germany. I had lived there for 6 years. I was like, this is cake. So I take the 30 days leave and I go back to California. I had this stomach that was like, pow, pow, pow. And here's where I'm going with this. I went into the military thinking, you know what? I'm pretty fit. for who I was because of all the things I had been doing. And then they upped my level. And the reason I'm mentioning that, because there may be folks that are listening going, yeah, I'm already doing pretty good with my fitness. I get up and I eat pretty good and I'm working out pretty good. I think moments like this, programs like yours, and correct me if I'm wrong, if this is not what this program is for, can help someone who's already doing okay kick it up to that next level where they're just like, wow, they're a little more on fire. They're a little more eating just that little bit better, and they're working out a little bit more because of the way you have the program set up. Would that be a fair thing to say?
In a way, because I mean, anybody who knows they're good knows they can be great.
Right.
Like it's, I'm a big music head. Like I said, Prince is my favorite artist. The fact
oh
that this
God, we could talk a whole day about Prince.
Like, and he didn't make 1999 say, okay, you know what? I don't need to practice anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? Like he went from there to Purple Rain and then so on and so forth. So it's the same kind of thing with, your favorite athletes or anybody, so, but I will say this, I'm not greedy. Like this is how I pay my bills. This is how I keep the lights on. I'm blessed to have that. And I'm blessed to be successful. However, if indeed somebody is just thriving, that, hey, rock out. Matter of fact, I might want to talk to you and see what it is about you. I want to learn something from you. If you're thriving at what you're doing, I want to know for you. But if you're somebody who used to thrive or somebody who's actually like, I'm in it, I don't have problems with commitment or anything, but I'm just not turning the corner like I used to. That's where I can say, hey, look, I got you. I'll give you this, and this, and watch these things just start to change almost overnight. And I'll give you information, again, the super facts that will help you like, oh, so if I do this, that, and the third, this influences X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Now I see how and that's how the super facts start to combine with the super foods and the super moves to actually have you be your super you.
Oh, perfect. All right. So I'm going to make sure all those links are down in the show notes. So people don't have to worry about taking notes. They can just click on through and check out your 6-week Super U program. And for those that really want to, it's 6 with the number 6 week Super U program, all spelled out. So
no program.
Again,
just 6weeksuperu.
I'm sorry, 6weeksuperu.com. But again, we're going to have all those links down in the show notes so people can just click through and check you out. KUTI Mack,
and
man.
Even if you don't do the program and you still want to just get a word that'll help you be better than you were before you had the conversation with me, again, just because you were here watching us on this show, you're a friend of Tracy's, you're a friend of mine, hit me up. I'll give you that. You don't have to buy my program, but take some time out, take 15 minutes out for yourself. I'll make it short so that you can just be a little bit better than you were before. I'm here for you to do that. That
free consultation. KUTI, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. And you know what? Here's a random thing. If someone's listening, and this is totally off the wall here. It's a quick sidebar. What as you've learned and gotten into your business here, what would you give as a top marketing tip that you have seen that works? Like, wow, I would have never thought that worked, but man, it rings doorbells.
Authenticity. Like, one thing, we want to have the pizzazz. I come from show business, and I come from a school of thought where you want to show and be the brightest, shiniest, best presentation, perfectly curated, absolute awesome, whatever, social media poster or whatever the case may be. But what I found has resonated the most is when I'm just authentic. And before, I would unintentionally be so. I would just have a moment of clarity or just a moment where I just kind of spilled my guts, not in a dramatic, going viral meltdown kind of way, but I just kind of have a cognition and share it. Mm-hmm. But the sincerity would ring through. And when the sincerity rang through, it would just react like gangbusters. So then what I realized was, okay, there's somebody that I'm talking to. And for anybody that's out there that's an entrepreneur, figure out again who you're talking to. You may not know at first. You just start talking, but pay attention to who's asking you all the questions. Yeah. Pay attention to who asks you that second and third question. If you have any clients, pay attention to the questions that your clients ask you. Write those questions down and use that to improve what you're doing. But as a marketing tool, if you have just 3 clients and they ask you 2 or 3 questions each, that's 6 pieces of marketing information from real life people who have already bought into what you are presenting. Use that when you're then reaching out and outflowing to the public, because you don't have to get everybody. All you need to get is your body.
That's right.
You get your people. The people who are yours, you get them. Like I just talked about Prince. You can't pry a Prince record out of my hands. Like that dude, he's passed away. I'm still the biggest fan. But you might have some other cat that's out there that's really good, and I'll be like, yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
But he's not for me.
And it's funny you mentioned that name, and you mentioned as that tip of authenticity. If I think about, and I'm going to loop in the music in here because we didn't talk about any of your music, which is fine.
We can do it later. We can do it again. How about that?
We do. Yeah, we bring you back. We'll just go down the music road next time. But every artist that has ever resonated with me, it's because of that authenticity, right? Who they were as a person just poured out of their music. I started listening to Prince back in 1980. All right. So I was listening to Prince before Prince was even cool to the mainstream, right? Everyone's all like, oh man, this new guy came out with, the Purple Rain, right? Or 1999. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know the music this guy put out. He was 15, 16, cranking out. He was doing, Dick Clark had him on Soul Train, not Soul Train, but on the American Bandstand, and I was like, you guys don't even know. And then the music that came out after that, right? So many people don't even know about because they didn't resonate with who Prince was. They resonated with the Warner Brothers Prince, right? And I think the same thing comes true with, you could even go, and Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson, right? Or James Brown, or, the laundry list of names you could roll off. You think about someone that just kicked ass and took names.
Yeah.
They were just being who they were musically in this particular example, right? And have you made it up to Paisley Park?
You know what? I think I'm finally ready to go. In all my travels in the music business, I even gave Prince career consultation at one point. So I've met Prince about 3.5 times, gave him consultation, the whole nine. But that said, I never made it to Paisley Park. And I always kind of assumed I would go. Mm-hmm. Then he passed away, and it was kind of like it was just too close for me. And then when I was ready, the pandemic hit. So I'm looking forward to making that pilgrimage at some point because I'm way overdue.
Sweet. Well, I haven't made it there either. I'm like you.
Maybe we go together.
There you go. Right. We'll have your service call my service. We'll do lunch. No, there have been 3 non-family members in my life that have passed away that I've actually wept for. Right. Zig Ziglar was one. Zig Ziglar was a huge impact on my life. Michael Jackson and Prince. Yeah. I heard about Prince passing away, and I had to stop what I was doing because I just felt I felt the welling.
Wild part is, it's like you wouldn't have thought that it would have happened like that, but you notice how the world sort of stopped. And I remember seeing like Niagara Falls just happened to be purple that day.
Yes,
like all these wild little coincidences that kept happening. It was just kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was almost like when he played the Super Bowl halftime and it rained when he sang Purple Rain. It was like
I forgot about that.
Right? Only Prince.
Only Prince. Anyway, KUTI, we could hang out here and just riff forever, it seems like, but I want to be mindful. I want to be mindful of your time. I definitely want to bring you back, and I want to go down this whole music road and talk about the amazing things you have going on back there behind you, and I'm sure the stories that you could tell about that business that has changed radically since you and I were teenagers, for sure. But thanks so much for coming on, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. This is awesome, Tracy.
All right, there you have it, my Dark Horse friends and family. KUTI Mack sharing healthy business bombs on us today. What ideas resonated with you? Man, there were so many in this one, but I got to narrow it down to just a few thoughts that I want to share with you. Thought number 1, why only one path? KUTI started off telling us about his about how he was deep into his business career, right? And it was actually deep into his music business career. And it was actually to the point where he had held the title of every title possible in the music industry. If you thought of the title, he had held it for at least 6 weeks. That's kind of huge, right? I mean, yeah, I haven't held every corporate America title yet, so that's really huge in my opinion. But here's the thing. When his father had that health incident, he was motivated by his desire to keep his loved one around for as long as possible to dive deeper into his health knowledge, which ended up turning into kind of help him start this whole new career path, this whole new entrepreneurial journey as others began to tap into this new wealth of knowledge and the results that he was generating with that knowledge. So this makes me wonder why we were always so focused on a single gifted path. And think about it. So many of us have multiple gifts were bestowed upon us by our Creator. The lucky ones find and pick one of those gifts and leverage it to their advantage, right? That's the whole thing, right? Now, the truly lucky ones, I think, also leverage that gift to their advantage, but they also leverage to the advantage of those who they're able to assist by using this gift. Now, what happens if you find out you have a second gift, or third, or fourth? Would you ignore it? Should you ignore it? Here's the thing. For me, the answer is a resounding hell no. You should be leveraging every single one of your gifts and bring them to bear however you are able to help those within your sphere of influence. And if you're holding back some gift that you have, then I say, shame on you. Shame on you for stealing from me what I would be able to learn or earn as a result of you sharing that gift with me, even if I have to pay for the privilege of receiving that gift from you. Shame on you for not using it to the best of your ability, every tool your Creator gave to you at birth to help you make your world, my world, and the world at least the tiniest bit better than it was when you emerged onto it. Now, I know there may be something holding you back. While I don't have time to go into all of them right now, I do want to address some of the factors that could be holding you back in an attempt of helping you let them go so that you can step into those initial gifts or those additional gifts. So in episode 312, Take Control of the Things That Are Holding You Back, we're going to chat about those things and how you can gain control of them. Thought number 2, on program or off program. KUTI used this phrase to describe foods that would be helping or hindering your program, whatever that program might be. Gaining muscle, losing weight, getting energy. But let's expand that thought process for a moment, shall we? Are there things that you are doing, people that you are engaging with, or thoughts and beliefs that you refuse to let go of? Now, are some of those things keeping you on program or taking you off program? Are there people in your sphere of influence that are telling you that your path is stupid or silly or so far out of reach that you're crazy for even giving it a go? Yeah. Are you yourself avoiding taking some actions by, sitting around watching TV all day long versus getting out there and getting involved, or by making up some lame-ass excuse like, oh, well, I'm waiting for so-and-so to do this or to respond to that or whatever, right? Are you getting involved perhaps with the wrong group, even if it's for the right reasons? Look, there are like 10,000 ways to avoid getting up off your ass and working to attain your dream, to engage your gifts, the main one or any of the hundreds that you may have, whatever those gifts are or whatever that dream may be. The question you have to ask yourself is, are any of the things that you are doing or engaging in taking you off program or keeping you on program? If they're taking you off program, stop. S-T-O-P. Just stop right there and ask why you're doing them and figure out what the cost benefit of continuing to do them is. If you decide that the cost outweighs the benefit, then stop. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just stop. If they are keeping you on program, then keep on trucking, brother. Just keep on right on doing them. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, how can I tell if it's a successful habit or not, Tracy? Well, for me, I think the best clue is, 1, is it on program or off? That's very simple. Or 2, are others using it to become successful? Not just one single person that you may know or know of, but many others, right? Especially many others that have chosen the same success path that you're trying to choose, right? So I'm going to go into this a little bit more in episode 313, Habits of Successful People, so that you can start doing more to stay on program. Thought number 3, what is your goal? What is your goal? What's your motivation? KUTI again made the point from a health and fitness point of view, but here again, I think this comes into play in so many areas of our lives. When you kicked off your entrepreneurial journey, what was your motivation? What was your goal? If your journey is already progressing, has your motivation changed? Has your goal changed? If so, why? If not, why not? Look, I'm not saying either one is the right or the wrong answer. I'm just saying, like KUTI was, knowing what your goal is and what your inner motivation is will help guide you to take the right actions for you. Not for me, not for KUTI or your neighbor, but for you. If you're taking actions that are aligned with your motivations and your goals and keeping you on program, then you're going to get up, charged up, fired up, and energized to get shit done. You'll be out there starting, restarting, kickstarting your program every damn day. And if you're not aligned with them, well, then you won't. It won't be right. It won't feel right. You will be swimming upstream, holding on to that damn boulder of all the wrong reasons and the wrong actions, which will just be taking you off program. And by the way, you'll also be battered on the sides of that stream as long as you hold on to those boulders. Thought number 4, think the solution all the way through. KUTI was sharing about how his father was getting multiple medications from a myriad of doctors. Each doctor was focused on their specialty and what they believed to be the best course of action around their area of focus. I don't believe anyone had any ill intent. Even in the case of my mother, as an example, none of them had an ill intent. However, sometimes using one tool, in KUTI's example, it was medicine, it could have helped one system, but in fact flared up another or caused the start of a whole new issue. The same thing can happen inside your business as well. You may come across some new tip or tool or technique that could improve one aspect of your business. But if you do not stop to think that process all the way through to the end, you could end up losing more time, more money, more prospects than you expected to gain as a result of jumping too quickly onto that shiny new object. So, the next time you're looking at some quote-unquote medicine to improve your life or your business, pause. Please pause and think about it. Think about it all the way through to the end result. How will it impact your current processes? How will it impact your current flow of information? How will you have to change those processes and those flows to incorporate this new way of doing things? How will all of this impact your current clientele, your current vendors, your current employees? How will it impact you? I mean, think about it. Think about the solution all the way through before you inject something into your body or business and subject yourself to some unknown that you did not bother to even consider. All right, what inspiring ideas, tips, or thoughts resonated with you? Whatever they might be, take some time today and write them down. Like right now is a really good time. I mean, if you're driving, I get it. Write them down. Then go put them into action. Yeah, get out there, run your race, get your results, and then come back and let me hear about them. That's right. Go ahead and email me at tracy@darkhorseschooling.com. Share the tips or ideas that you came away with, how you put them into action, and what results you gained from them. Heck, I'll probably bring you on the show so you can tell your story about success. All right, next week in our next interview episode, our guest is going to be Rebecca Mahan. All right, and she's a television show host, a USMC veteran, a retired police officer, and an author who's all about empowering others, even so much so that is the topic of her book called Vote: Victims Overcoming Traumatic Events. Now, I know you want to keep getting all these valuable tips and the inspirational stories from these amazing guests I'm lucky enough to bring on. So please go on down there, hit that subscribe button. Yeah. And while you're there, drop us a 5-star rating and leave us some kind words in the reviews. Ask questions. I read every single one of those reviews. I can use that as an opportunity to answer your question and in a future episode. And of course, do not keep all this entrepreneurial GOLD all to yourself. Share the podcast with other entrepreneurs and business owners that you know will get value from it. And with that, I'm going to leave you as I always do. Think successfully and take action.
Thank you for listening to the Dark Horse Entrepreneur Podcast.
And you know this!
Thanks for tuning in.
Check us out at www.darkhorseschooling.com.
All right.
My name is Tracy Brinkman.